Good morning, Beaumont. Bring you a few things here today. First of all, I just want to talk about Donald Trump, first 100 days. But the important thing you have to know is he did not create the hate that the Democrats operate under. He exposed it. He did not create the media bias. He exposed it. He did not create a corrupt FBI, a corrupt CIA, a corrupt Department of Justice. No, he exposed that corruption. He did not create the deep state or the D.C. swamp. In fact, he was unaware how deep the swamp was, but he's exposed it now for all of us. And he did not create the corruption in both political parties. He exposed it. And so we just hope that it gets better. On that note, let me bring you this one. This is mind-blowing. U.S. immigration officials announced they had disrupted a marriage fraud operation in Maryland. 4 people have been indicted. The investigation by ICE, along with U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, the Department of State Diplomatic Security Service, and the U.S. Attorney's Office for Maryland, led to the discovery of a network of people that were facilitating fake marriages and visa applications. The suspects were identified as Ella Zurin, age 65, Tatiana Segal, age 74, Alexandra Tkach, 41, all from New York, and Shanta Hopper, 33, of New Jersey. Federal prosecutors have charged him with conspiracy to commit marriage fraud. Zurin, Siegel, Tkach were all arrested in March. The officials did not say when they arrested Harper. The investigations began back in April of 2022 when the officials determined that they were arranging phony marriages. The 3 were paid thousands of dollars for facilitating introductions to U.S. citizens and coordinating the sham marriages. Zurin, Siegel, and Tkach also arranged for the preparation of false immigration forms, including fake health status attestations, in connection with applications for immigration benefits. So in other words, setting them up so they can get welfare. Not only will they be able to come in here illegally and live, but they'll get the welfare benefits. Hopper was alleged to have encouraged several U.S. citizens to partake in fraudulent marriages with foreign nationals for financial gain. In return, she received compensation for recruiting women in Baltimore and other areas to participate in these fraudulent marriages. This is insane. I mean, just absolutely amazing. So we're glad to see that this is coming down. And if we had not had this, then it would have continued for some period of time. Jack Phillips over at the Epic Times is the one that actually has brought this report to us. But marriage fraud is not a victimless crime. It compromises the integrity of our immigration system, diverts critical resources, erodes public trust in a process that countless individuals follow legally and in good faith. ICE Homeland Security Investigations Special Agent in Charge, Michael McCarthy, said in a statement, "These arrests mark a critical milestone in our broader effort to dismantle a criminal network that had sought to undermine our immigration laws. We remain committed to safeguarding the lawful immigration process and holding accountable those who seek to exploit it." Trial dates for the 4 suspects have not yet been scheduled, but if convicted, they will probably get somewhere between 2 and 5 years in federal prison. President Trump issued 3 executive orders related to immigration. The first calls for the Attorney General to identify cities and states failing to comply with federal immigration laws, i.e. sanctuary cities. The second concerns protections for law enforcement officers. And the third has to do with the new English literacy test for commercial truck drivers. And if you listen to me every day, you heard me talk about that last week. But now truck drivers are having to take English literacy test at weigh stations nationwide. And if they can't pass the test, they lose their commercial license. This is very important because if a driver comes here from another country and he cannot speak English and he cannot read the road signs, all of our safety is compromised. Since January, the administration has launched an aggressive enforcement campaign deploying troops to the southern border, pledging to deport millions of criminal aliens, and Trump made an illegal immigration a major campaign issue in 2024. He said these actions were needed because of the actions of people that were behind the Biden administration. So this is really cool. I'm very glad to bring it to you. Now this. You know, we need people to remember us and think good things about us every day. We need to give gifts to friends, loved ones, and customers, and that's why you need to go see my friends Brian and Christina at crazynestcreations.com. There you will find amazing custom t-shirts, coffee mugs, and incidentals that are going to make their day. You can find a t-shirt for your honey from the great Stylized Owl collection, or something for your friend or client or customer to cement your relationship for years to come. Don't forget, you have to get reelected to be grandma, grandpa, aunt, or uncle of the year, and that requires gifts. So crazynestcreations.com gives you an inexpensive way to engender warm and loving feelings for a lifetime. crazynestcreations.com, crazynestcreations.com, crazynestcreations.com. Go there today. Get those goodies for your friends, loved ones, and clients. You won't regret it, and they're going to remember you. As you know, Harvard has been a real problem here lately because they decided to go woke, and, well, they've got so much money, they're in no danger of going broke. But nonetheless, you know, they had that black woman that was the president. Turned out that she had plagiarized her doctoral thesis, and, of course, then she was fired. But Harvard University is blinking. They have released 2 reports detailing findings from the Presidential Task Force to address anti-Semitism and anti-Muslim bias and tensions surrounding the Israeli-Hamas war. Now, first of all, let me say this. Islam is not compatible with civilization, and Islam is not compatible with any other religion, because the central tenet of Islam is you must kill the infidel where you find him. It's there. There's nothing I can do about that. And who is the infidel? It's important to recognize in Islam, the infidel is anyone who is not as good a Muslim as you perceive yourself to be. So it's really important that you understand those 2 things. So perhaps you should have an anti-Muslim bias. And in Texas, we've got real problems. You know, I've talked about it on several shows. They're bringing in these Sharia law communities where normal law enforcement will not even be allowed in. And they're creating Sharia law courts because Islam doesn't care about America. They don't care about Texas. And the only thing they care about with you is recruiting you. And of course, if you decide not to be recruited, well, they'll deal with that. Anyway, getting back to Harvard University, why would anybody send anyone there? I don't know. Hamas terrorist attacks on Israel and subsequent campus protests found that Jewish, Israeli, Zionist, Muslim, Arab, Palestinian, and pro-Palestinian students all reported feeling marginalized or targeted over their identities. Some Jewish students said they hid religious symbols to avoided speaking Hebrew in public, while the Muslim and Palestinian students said they felt judged, misrepresented, and unsupported, especially when they were attacking the Jews. So it's especially disturbing, the reported willingness of how many students they had that would treat each other with disdain rather than sympathy, eager to criticize and ostracize, particularly when afforded anonymity and the distance that social media provides. Harvard President Alan Garber wrote in a letter to the campus community, some students reported being pushed by their peers to the periphery of campus life because of who they are or what they believe, and this erodes our shared sense of community in the process. The entire idea of the university, by the way, was to bring different ideals together so they could be discussed civilly. I entirely support that. And that includes the right of the Muslim student to speak out about his religion. It's just we want them to do it honestly. The task forces issued separate reports with tailored recommendations. The Department of Health and Human Services Office for Civil Rights. Why do they have an Office for Civil Rights? It's Health and Human Services, but civil rights, that belongs somewhere else. Anyway, they had previously demanded that Harvard turn over these reports by May 2nd. The 311-page report by the Task Force on Combating Anti-Semitism and Anti-Israel Bias urged Harvard to adopt the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance definition of anti-Semitism and to expand Jewish and Israeli-related academic programming, standardize the incident reporting, and provide new training for students and faculty. So we're going to see what happens, but it looks like Harvard has realized that if the federal government cuts off the billions of dollars that they get every year, it could have an effect on their bottom line. Garber added that the university's work to strengthen dialogue and community would continue through the summer into the next academic year. He said, may our successors, whether they're Jewish, Israeli, Muslim, Arab, Palestinian, or any combination of backgrounds and perspectives, find Harvard to be a safe place where they can be themselves, express their views freely, and encounter sympathy and understanding, a place where all are cheered on as they pursue their dreams. Well, we'll see about that. Freedom1300.com doesn't run on sunshine and well water, my friends. We need you. First of all, please share this show and this station on all of your social media. The Golden Triangle is on the cusp of the best decade in history, and we need you to be part of it. We need you to advertise right here on Freedom 1300 AM in Beaumont. If you are the best at what you do and your client base is in the Golden Triangle or southwestern Louisiana, this is the place for you to be advertising. It's inexpensive and affordable. Call me, Doc, today at 281-914-1331 and join the team at AM 1300. We still need a major sponsor with studio naming rights. We need a sponsor for the 1 hour show every Saturday. You can call Doc at 281-914-1331 and get in on the ground floor with AM 1300. Be sure to tell your friends at church, Rotary, at BMI, the Lions, the Eagles, the American Legion, and the VFW. AM 1300 is the place to be. And this is interesting. The Department of Treasury has announced new sanctions targeting vessels and companies delivering oil derivatives to the Houthi-controlled rebels in Yemen, and this has been funding their terror network. Today's action, sanctioning these companies, underscores our commitment to disrupt their efforts to fund their dangerous and destabilizing attacks in the region. The Houthis also control Red Sea ports, including Hudaydah, Ras Isa, and Al Salif, and they generate millions of dollars by taxing and selling goods brought through these areas. The groups deployed missiles and unmanned aerial vehicles to attack commercial shipping interests in the Red Sea. So refined petroleum products in particular are sold at inflated prices on Yemen's black market, and this provides them revenue to purchase military equipment. Well, I'd say this is probably long overdue, so we want to see if this helps, because that's still a big problem. See you tomorrow. You have a choice, and you chose Freedom 1300.